yes, in the East Kootenays, yes.
Right.
Because of the mountainside,
Right.
the lake.
And where did you live? What was your living quarters when you were there?
Our living quarters were a shack with 2 bedrooms, one on each end.
And at this time, how many people were in your family in that 2 bedrooms?
At that time, before my brother was born, there were 6 of us before my brother was born. And so all the girls, there were 2 beds in each bedrooms. And my brother and I, 3 of us in a wooden bed with the straw mattress, and again the horse blanket was brought over. Yeah, and it was so cold, you know, we had to put 3 or 4, and it's still pretty cold. But anyway, and my mother and father on the other end with my sisters.
Okay.
And there was a sink, wooden sink, built from lumber, and a drain that went down to the bottom of the house with a kind of a hole there.
Right.
And the water was a public water on the street side with a tap, and that's where we brought the water in with buckets.
And how did you take baths? When did you have any bath facilities?
We had, yes, we did. We had a public bath, Japanese style, public bath.
Did the people in the camp build it themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, they were tradesmen. They gather up all the tradesmen and they help build the houses and the meeting hall, Buddhist hall, It was used as a Buddhist temple plus a gathering hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and at this time, how old were you? You were.
I was turning 8, 9.
Okay. Yeah. So, what was your typical day like?
My typical day was again just play. We got into a situation where there was along the hillside there was a skid row. You know, cedar logs were cut up on the top side, and then they were skidded down, down and called a skid row. And without any caution or anything, my brother and I would hike up the same skid row.
Is that dangerous?
Well, you know, not knowing anything.
Right.
Well, and then all of a sudden we'd see these big logs come hurtling down. And we would just run down this steep hill, you know, and we would roll down and get all dirty, and well, we survived.
Did you have school?
We had, and these same size houses were turned into classrooms, and there were rows and rows of it, different classes, and most of the teachers were high school graduates. And they've taken teaching courses. You know, in Victoria there was a school called a normal school, where the teachers got their training. 2-year training, they became teachers. And their curriculum was taken from there and taught to these would-be teachers. And these teachers taught from the educational you know, guidelines.
And how was your food situation for your family?
When we first got there, it was not that good, but we had ration coupons for meat, you know.
Ration meat
sugar
from the
butter.
government?
Yeah, from the government, yeah. And for vegetable, when we first got there, winter set in, there's not much there, so
did you feel like you had enough food? Were you hungry, or how did you feel?
I don't remember being hungry, but we do remember we didn't have seconds. We just had enough. Allowed it upon onto our plate, and that was it. You know. And
what kind of typical day would you eat? Just like the government?
Rice.
Rice.
Yeah, and we before the snow and the frost set in, we would gather dandelion leaves
Uh-huh.
along the, highway or streets
Right.
or wild dandelion. That's our main vegetable that we had.
Okay.
Although we had some money, we were able to get some vegetable from the stores. Not much,
Right.
you know.
When you say money, I mean, you only a little money to buy supplemental
Yeah,
food, right?
yes.
Right, so not
Yeah,
so
personal,
much money, right.
hygiene stuff and
Right.
things like that.
How long were you in New Denver?
46.
Okay. And then after that, where did you go?
Well, after the war was over.
So then the war ended,
Mm.
but you still couldn't go back to
No,
Vancouver. Can you
there
explain
was
about that?
the legislation saying that the interned Japanese were given options. They were given option to anybody who wanted to go back to Japan because they had relatives.
But Japan was, after the war, was very
Well,
poor, very...
Yes.
Okay, so if they didn't go back to Japan, what was
The
it?
other option was to move east of the Rockies.
Right. Okay, but you at that time, did you speak Japanese?
It was just very limited Japanese.
And you thought of yourself as Canadian, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't speak Japanese. I mean, that's all. My parents spoke Japanese. They spoke enough English because my dad worked aboard the cable ship.
Right.
And also he grew vegetables in Victoria and he had to peddle them.
Right. But to me, that's just I don't understand why you can't go back to Vancouver. To me,
Well, it was another ordering council that for some reason that length of time.
right. But there's the war's over. The
Yes.
Japanese are no longer the enemy.
As I
You're
grew
not.
older, I couldn't understand that.
Right.
You know. And even when they found out that there were no evidence, nothing
Right.
to say that we were disloyal.
Right.
You know, there was no one. There's no protest. There were no protests. There was no evidence of activities
Right.
against the Canadian government or our neighbors
Right.
or anything. So yet they hung in there to say that we weren't able to move around. We were still limited
Right.
from our ability to move around.
Okay. So what did your family decide to do after? So they had two choices: either go back to Japan or
We,
stay east of the Rockies. What
yeah,
did you decide to do?
We didn't decide anything because my father was still employed with the government for as a cook.
Okay.
The hospital was still there.
Okay.
Eventually, the hospital was shut down.
Okay. So when did your family leave the New Denver area then?
Well, we left New Denver in 1946 or 7
Okay.
to Spokane.
Okay.
And
Can you tell me about Spokane?
well, it was just ghost town.
Okay.
Back to pretty well ghost town, and from what I can understand, that my father had to get a job somewhere because the hospital, TB hospital was shut down, sanatorium was shut
Right.
down, and for some reason he was able to get a job as a help in the sawmills
Okay.
and do some logging.
Okay.
He had to learn fast how to become a
Right.
logger. You know. After a year or two, my father got a job with the CPR, repairing, replacing ties, railroad ties.
Okay.
Yeah, up in Rogers Pass.
Okay.
He wore glasses,
Okay.
and when he was chipping away the ice from the railway,
Okay.
Chip went and broke his glass.
Okay.
So he had to come back.
Okay.
And now he said that wasn't for him, so he sought out a job again. He was lucky enough to be able to get a job as a mining camp cook
Okay.
after that.
And where was this? Where?
Silverton.
Okay.
We lived in a abandoned ghost town building,
Right.
and it was actually one in Silverton, that is.
Right.
It was near City Hall, and it was an abandoned building, and they had a library, and library and post office, and it was a 2-story building. Upstairs was a hall where the resident of that town had games and things like that. And we lived in the library area, and the one end there was a kind of a cooking facility. My youngest brother, he went up to the camp to stay with my mother and my father.
Okay.
Yeah. My older sister, she wasn't able to go to school.
Okay.
She just got into grade 8,
Okay.
and the camp was so busy. It was a family-run cookhouse.
Okay. So she couldn't go to school because
She couldn't go to school.
she was too busy working.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. This camp was about 4 miles out, up in the mountain,
Okay.
and we went to school. We did our own thing, studied, and did our own cooking. And even during the summertime, just my brother and I, we would go up into the bush and cut 4-foot real trees
Right.
with a bowl saw
Right.
and with a double-headed axe. We had a bicycle by then, and we'll double ride and go up into the bush, and we would cut down trees and make it into cord size, you know, and pile it up in where we felled the trees.
Okay.
And later on, we'll have it trucked into Silverton town. And it was pretty cold in that area, you know.
Right.
And we had the same style sheet metal
Right.
heater
Right.
and cast iron stove
Right.
for cooking.
So it was tough.
Yeah, but it was